Picture this: two neighbors, the United States and Canada, sharing the world's longest undefended border. For generations, this border has been a symbol of peace, cooperation, and mutual respect, an invisible line that rarely made headlines. Families wave across it, businesses thrive on both sides, and the handshake between the American and Canadian flags has always felt genuine. But now, that friendly spirit is under threat, and the world is watching as tensions rise. Out of the blue, one neighbor, the US, decides to build an invisible wall, not of bricks and mortar, but of tariffs. Suddenly, every Canadian product crossing the border is hit with new charges. Lumber, steel, even maple syrup, nothing is spared. The message is clear: trade just got a lot more expensive, and the era of easy cross-border business is over. But Canada isn't about to take this lying down. Instead of backing down, it decides to flex its own muscles. The country locks the Garden Gate, so to speak, focusing on Alaska, a unique American state that's separated from the rest of the US by thousands of miles of Canadian wilderness. Alaska depends on Canadian roads and railways for everything from groceries to gasoline. Now those routes are suddenly in jeopardy. What started as political posturing has quickly escalated into a real economic threat. Businesses on both sides of the border are feeling the pinch. Store shelves are emptier, small businesses are closing their doors, and uncertainty is spreading like wildfire. The ripple effects are being felt in boardrooms and family kitchens alike. British Columbia, the crucial land bridge to Alaska, steps into the spotlight. The provincial government passes a bold new law. If the US is going to charge us to send our goods south, then we'll charge you to use our roads north. It's a tit-for-tat move that raises the stakes for everyone involved. The main highway to Alaska, once a symbol of open access and cooperation, could soon become a pricey toll road. Every truck, every car, every shipment of food or fuel will have to pay to pass through. For Alaskans, this means higher prices and more headaches just to get the basics. This isn't just about politics or pride, it's about real people's lives. Supply chains are disrupted, grocery prices in Anchorage are climbing, and jobs on both sides of the border are suddenly at risk. The economic fallout is spreading far beyond the negotiating table. Other Canadian provinces aren't sitting on the sidelines. They join the fray, targeting American products and businesses with their own countermeasures. Protests erupt, and no U.S. products signs start appearing in shop windows from coast to coast. Meanwhile, American politicians scramble to respond. They look for ways to hit back, with some targeting Canada's lucrative tourism industry. Suddenly, once busy Canadian tourist destinations are eerily quiet, as American visitors stay away in protest or because of new restrictions. The relationship, stable and friendly for generations, is now on the rocks. Old photos of cross-border friendship feel like relics from another era, as suspicion and frustration take their place. It's a high-stakes chess game, with more than just pride at stake. Trucks, cruise ships, electricity, and livelihoods are all in play. Every move has consequences, and the next step could tip the balance even further. Behind closed doors, negotiators from both countries are locked in tense talks. Each side is waiting for the other to blink, knowing that the outcome will shape the future of North American relations for years to come. The neighborly peace that once defined the US-Canada border is gone, replaced by a tense standoff. The world is left wondering, can these neighbors find a way back to friendship, or is this the start of a much colder chapter? It all kicked off with President Trump reviving his signature move, one that had sent shockwaves through global markets before. This time, he announced a sweeping 25% tariff on all Canadian and Mexican imports, reigniting old tensions and sparking immediate outrage across North America. The announcement sent ripples through border towns, factories, and boardrooms. For businesses that rely on cross-border trade, the threat was more than just numbers. It was a direct hit to their livelihoods and future plans. For Canada, it felt like economic war. The country's industries, from auto manufacturing to agriculture, braced for impact, fearing layoffs and plant closures. Prime Minister Trudeau called it a very dumb thing to do and promised swift retaliation. He stood before the press, his tone resolute, vowing to defend Canadian workers and businesses at any cost. Trump's unpredictability, threatening, then delaying, then threatening again, left Canada on edge. Each new tweet or statement from the White House sent officials scrambling to respond, never sure what would come next. The rhetoric quickly turned personal. Canadian leaders accused Trump of going beyond tariffs, even hinting at annexation in heated debates. The atmosphere grew tense, with both sides trading barbs in public and behind closed doors. Trust between the two countries eroded fast. Decades of partnership and cooperation seemed to unravel in a matter of days, replaced by suspicion and anger. Canada's federal government drew up a list of U.S. goods to target for counter-tariffs, hoping to send a clear message. But the real innovation came from the provinces, who saw an opportunity to act independently. They realized they had unique leverage, local, targeted pain points that could hit back at the U.S. in unexpected ways. Provincial leaders began strategizing, looking for ways to maximize their influence. The provinces weren't waiting for Washington or even Ottawa. They were ready to fight this trade war on their own terms, determined to protect their communities and industries from the fallout of Trump's latest gamble. In a bold and unexpected move, British Columbia unveiled its secret weapon, one that would send shockwaves through both Canada and the United States. The Economic Stabilization Tariff Response Act was introduced, a piece of legislation crafted in direct response to growing trade tensions. This law gave BC the unprecedented power to slap tolls on any vehicle traveling to or from Alaska, effectively turning the province's highways into a strategic bargaining chip. Alaska, physically cut off from the lower 48, relies almost entirely on BC's highways for the flow of goods, fuel, and people. There's no practical way to reach Alaska by land without passing through this Canadian province. The message was clear. If the U.S. made Canadian goods expensive with tariffs, Canada would make it expensive, maybe even impossible, for Americans to reach Alaska by road. BC officials described the law as a purely defensive measure, a tool to be used only if the U.S. escalated the trade conflict. But the mere existence of the law sent a powerful signal. The law was designed to be flexible and temporary, but the threat it posed was very real. Toll booths could appear almost overnight, disrupting travel and trade in an instant. The psychological impact was enormous. Suddenly, a trade war wasn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It had a physical choke point, a place where real people and real goods could be stopped. Canada was willing to use its unique geography as leverage, turning its vast and rugged landscape into a tool of negotiation. The toll threat wasn't really about collecting money. It was about demonstrating power and showing that Canada could hit back in ways that would be felt far beyond the border. In an instant, friendly cooperation had become a game of roadblocks, with both sides waiting to see who would blink first. For Alaskans, BC's toll threat was a gut punch. Most cargo arrives by sea, but the highway is vital for fresh food and specialized equipment. Truckers warned that tolls would mean higher prices for everything: groceries, fuel, supplies. Alaska's high cost of living would climb even higher. Political leaders in Alaska hoped for a diplomatic fix, but their leverage was limited. State Senator Robert Myers, a trucker himself, knew a disruption would hit both consumers and industry hard. The threat exposed Alaska's vulnerability, its dependence on a foreign country for a basic lifeline. The friendly border suddenly felt like a barrier. Alaskans waited, hoping leaders would resolve a dispute that threatened their way of life. BC's toll threat sparked a wave of retaliation across Canada. Ontario hit back with a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to the U.S., targeting states like New York and Minnesota. Yukon stopped buying American alcohol and blocked U.S. companies from government contracts. Every province found a way to apply pressure: energy, alcohol, contracts. Canada's decentralized system became a strength, creating a web of local pain points for the U.S. Instead of one big response, the U.S. faced a dozen small fires along the border. Canada's polite reputation masked a new, steely resolve. American politicians searched for Canada's weak spot and found it in cruise ships. Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan proposed waiving the Passenger Vessel Services Act, letting cruise ships skip Canadian ports. Nearly 2 million cruise passengers and billions in tourism dollars flow through BC every summer because of this law. If the US grants a waiver, BC's cruise industry could vanish overnight. The threat was clear. If BC blocks Alaska's highway, the US can block BC's tourism cash cow. The conflict now stretched from highways to harbors. The economic stakes for both sides just got higher. The war of words was as fierce as the economic threats. BC's Premier Eby accused Trump of wanting to annex Canada, framing the dispute as a fight for national sovereignty. Trump's unpredictable style kept Canada off balance, fueling mistrust. Trudeau condemned the tariffs, but tried to keep the door open for talks. Provincial premiers, less restrained, spoke the language of strength and retaliation. The rhetoric made compromise harder. Neither side wanted to lose face. The conflict was now about pride as much as policy. This isn't just a political drama, it hits home for ordinary people. In Alaska, tolls mean pricier groceries and supplies. For families and small businesses, that's a real blow. In BC, losing cruise ships would devastate tourism workers and local businesses. Ontario's electricity surcharge could spike utility bills in US states. Yukon's boycott means lost sales for American producers. Every retaliatory move creates new winners and losers, disrupting jobs and communities. Factory workers, farmers, and shopkeepers on both sides could see hours cut or businesses close. Uncertainty chills investment and hiring, hurting the whole economy. What started as a political spat ends at the kitchen table. In an interconnected world, a neighborly dispute can shake everyone's daily life. The US and Canada stand at a crossroads. This standoff is more than a spat. It's a test of a century-old partnership. If Trump's tariffs go ahead, Canada's retaliatory measures will follow, triggering a full-blown trade war. Prices will rise, jobs will be lost, and both economies will suffer. But there's another path. Many of these threats are leverage for negotiation, not immediate action. There's still time for leaders to step back and choose diplomacy over escalation. The US-Canada relationship has been a model of cooperation and shared values. Letting it crumble over a trade dispute would be a global tragedy. The world is watching. Can these old friends find common ground and avoid disaster? The next move will define their future and ours.